Constitution lawyer and radio talk shows, Mark Levin is mostly known for his very opinionated thought and outright fierce personality. But what most don't know is that this staunch Republican has a soft side.
Conservative. Anyway, go ahead.
May I, please?
Yes, go ahead.
For dogs. In his new book, Rescuing Sprite, a dog lover's story of joy and anguish, Mark Levin takes us on a journey of the love and loss of his best friend, Sprite. Nice to see you. He joins us now. I didn't know that you, the fierce Mark Levin, had this soft, cuddly side to you, this love of animals that can bring us all together, left and right.
Oh, boy.
I mean, I was very, very touched by this book.
I wouldn't go that far.
You're already starting.
I'm just kidding. Look, obviously the book has nothing to do about politics.
Right.
People expect you to write those things.
Right.
I didn't even expect to write this book.
Yeah.
But when we had to put one of our dogs to sleep, it was so traumatic.
Well, let me back up for a second, because what I liked about this is that, first of all, Sprite was a shelter dog.
That's correct.
My wife works at a shelter, volunteers at a shelter.
That's great.
If you ever go to a shelter and you see these animals who need a home, never again will you go anywhere else to get a dog or a pet.
It is heartbreaking, all those dogs and cats that are in all these crates, and these wonderful people, like your wife who work there. I don't know how they do it, seeing the streams of dogs coming. There are millions of dogs like this and thousands of shelters. And I went once and I couldn't go back because it breaks your heart. Now, the people there are really angels. I don't know how they do it, but I can't do it.
You had this relationship with Sprite and your other dog, Pepsi, some kind of a cola theme, I don't know.
Yeah.
And you sit, after your radio show, you sit and they'd have dinner with you, you'd have this, you would talk to them?
I did.
They'd answer?
Listen, sometimes. Sometimes they made a lot more sense than some of my calls.
So what happened to Sprite?
Well, you know, Sprite was older than we thought, and turned out he had a lot of health issues. And he struggled with them, but, you know, the dog was joyful and wonderful like all dogs are, regardless. And I think that's why I identified with him, because I really never came to terms with my heart attack and my bypass surgery and all the rest of it. And he was facing, in a short time, you know, his demise, and I just respected him and admired him so much.
It's very interesting also how you tried to protect your daughter from what was going on. That was a very interesting part of the book.
Well, my daughter, well, you read it, the whole thing. Well, my daughter was away at University of Alabama, and she loves our dogs. And, you know, I didn't really, she knew he was sick, but I didn't really want her to know the day that we had to put him to sleep because nobody was there to comfort her, be with her. So she learned about a week later when she came home.
Yeah. Hey, great one. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Look, we're best friends. This book touched me deeply because I lived this with you. And, you know, one of the things why everybody's reacting and responding to this book, it's in the top 10 in Amazon. It's the first day that you even talked about it. It's the unconditional love that these dogs give us, gave you, the help this dog gave you, and this bond we have. They become members of our family.
Yeah, and you're the caretaker and the caregiver, and when you can't do what you feel you need to do to save them, it is heartbreaking. I tell you, the night before we put him to sleep...
You described this in detail.
It's detailed, but it's not gory, but it's detailed.
No, but it's truthful, it's honest.
It's truthful because millions of people go through this, and they just go through it alone. I became extremely depressed. I became extremely depressed for 6-8 weeks. And almost distraught. I was traumatized by putting him to sleep. I didn't want to play God. As a matter of fact, I don't pray that much, but the night before we were putting him to sleep, I begged God to take him. And he didn't take him. So we had to do that. And
you describe the hours. You go into detail.
Yeah.
Waiting for that clock ticking. That day, 12 o'clock noon was the time that the vet was due to come to your house, your friend. It's painful for me because, you know, we're friends and I was close to this, and I called you in that hour.
Sean called me that hour, and I had to hang up. And Sean called me every night, and Rush was very supportive, and Deborah Burlingame, other people who are my friends and I reached out to, and, you know, it got so upsetting to me, frankly. I almost quit my profession. I just said, you know, what good is it to be behind a microphone talking all the time or to be a lawyer? You've got people out there. You've got doctors and nurses and vets and people who work at shelters like his wife. They're saving lives. you know, they've committed their lives to others' lives, and I got to think, what the heck am I doing? Just talking on the radio.
You really did think about quitting. You think, and you know, this is stunning because, look, I know you better than anybody, and there's this side of you, the public side of you. Now let me tell you about Hillary Rotten. You know, and you go on and you hammer
I'm
hard.
passionate about
You're
that.
passionate, and you are a brilliant constitutional attorney, and a strong advocate and a fierce fighter on the radio. And then there's this soft, compassionate, you know, guy that's in love with his family and his dogs, and he writes his other. You know, I think it's surprised a lot of people. It doesn't surprise me because we're friends.
I'm very passionate about what I do, and I'm very passionate about my politics, but the fact of the matter is what this dog and what my dogs helped me do was to step back and take a look at what's important in my life. And 500 years from now, none of us existed, for all intents and purposes. But we exist with our families and our friends as time goes on, and that's what we have to remember. Every minute with our loved ones, and I'm talking about dogs and cats too, they're precious, and we have to remember that.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back more with the great one, Mark Levin, coming up right after the break.